Howdy, this is James Tanner, again with another in the series of Exploring Genealogy. In this particular episode, I am talking about researching on the FamilySearch family tree, and this is number 5 in the sub-series of doing that research. You can view these videos on my YouTube channel, and I would appreciate if you would subscribe. Here we are back again with the Bragg family, and I'm looking here at Sarah Bragg, and I see that she is supposed to be married to John Cummings, and she is the child of Henry Bragg and Elizabeth McMullen, and born in 1687. In this particular edition, there are only 3 sources for Sarah Bragg. In this one, she is a female born 26 March 1687 in Salem, Essex, Massachusetts. And if we look at the original source record here, we see that we come in here and see if we can find a Bragg. As I'm doing this research, I'm basically showing my methodology and the way that I am doing genealogy. I'm not particularly following a script, so whatever I see here on the screen is likely to be a surprise to me as it is to everyone else. And so I would suppose that we would be changing things and working through the difficulties. This particular family has Sarah Bragg with 3 different husbands, 2 known and 1 unknown, and not in the right family, in the Bragg family, and we're also questioning whether or not her father really was Henry Bragg because of dates and places and things like that. So I'm backing off on the original research objective, which was Henry Bragg, and now we're working back down along my direct line ancestors to Sarah Bragg. This shows Henry Bragg and Elizabeth McMullen were married on the 17th of October of 1677, well, the 10th month, and that can be problematical because we need to check to see whether or not that was October. Their daughter Elizabeth was born on the 7th of the 7th month of 78, and Mary was born on March 1680, William 1684, and Alexander in 1689. And this comes from Massachusetts Town Clerk Records. Let's get the title here. Vital and Town Records 1626 to 2001, and this is in Essex in Salem. So we have to go back now and look at Sarah Bragg and the details and see. We have Elizabeth, Mary, Henry, William, Sarah. We have a few other Braggs in here that aren't listed in the town clerk record. We'll quickly go back and see if there's another page to the town clerk record continuing the Bragg family. Nope, doesn't appear to be. So we're probably questioning whether or not this particular family has all these children. There's all sorts of things that we're questioning at this point. And we see right from the beginning that there is a possible duplicate for this Sarah Bragg, who was born in 1687 and is the daughter of Henry and Elizabeth. So we'll go up to the possible duplicate and get that one resolved right now. And as I get to the duplicate, I see that there's a lot of information on the right-hand side and very little less information on the left-hand side. So I'm going to switch positions. I always like to have the most information on the left, and then check to see which of these are correct and not correct. Well, this Sarah Bragg was apparently born in Salem, Essex, in the 26th of March of 1687, and the record that's in the other Sarah Bragg is for the 3rd of November of 1694, and it's Bristol County, Rhode Island, and not even in Massachusetts. So it looks like to me that we have two different Sarah Braggs and a marriage with John Cummings, but they have her down as a child of Henry and Elizabeth Macmillan. So I would say that this YYD, this LJGYLYD Sarah Bragg is not the same as the Sarah Bragg who was born in Salem, Essex, Massachusetts in 1687. And I would also assume that the one that was the husband that's listed over here for this Sarah Bragg with this daughter of Sarah Cummings may not be, would be a question of which one of these is the Sarah Bragg. Okay, well, if we go back to the town clerk record that we had and go back to the page with Sarah Bragg, we see that we have an Elizabeth, a Mary, Henry, William, Sarah, 26th of March of 1687, and that's in Essex and Salem County. Okay, so going back here, the Essex and Salem County, Massachusetts one, who was born in 1687 on the 26th of March, is the daughter of Henry and Elizabeth Macmillan. But the Sarah Bragg who was born on in the possible duplicates category, who is born on the 3rd of November of 1694, is not the same person. And whether or not we've got the husbands and wives and such that figured out properly, we're certainly going to mark this as not a match. And then we'll say wrong state and dates do not match records. And that gives us a pretty good idea of why that is not a duplicate record. Now, when we go to the YYD, we've kind of hit the jackpot here. We now have at least 3 possible duplicates, and we have the John Cummings marriage in Massachusetts in 1722. We have the 1694 November Bristol Colony, Rhode Island person. This is obviously not our Henry Bragg, Sarah Cummings person. So we're going to take her out of this particular marriage right now. We see we have another Henry Bragg with the YYD. So this is probably where this is coming out. We also have the 1687. So this Sarah Bragg is not the one that we want. And we will click here and we will remove or replace her as a child and remove parents and say wrong state and wrong dates and remove her from the category there. Now we have the 1694 Sarah Bragg, who is married to John Cummin. And we're going to try and we'll see if that, did not work. Let's try reloading this and see what happens. Oh, well, we have her again, the 16th, and another copy of her, and we'll take her out there because she's in here twice, apparently. And now we'll take her and remove the parents and give the wrong state and wrong dates according to records, and remove her from that family. Now that takes her completely out of the range. Basically, if I click here now, she is still showing as being the daughter of Alexander Bragg and Sarah Bragg, the 16th. So she's showing herself, this Sarah Bragg is showing as the daughter of Alexander and Sarah, and her name's Sarah, and she's my direct line ancestor. So we're going to go down to this Sarah Bragg, and this was the one that's married to Benjamin Zalatis Ray, and her parents are Alexander and Luther, Elizabeth Luther and Alexander Bragg. And we have a bunch of children, and she is the last child born in 1737 and this one is the Bristol, Massachusetts. And this is not the Sarah Bragg. That is, so we're going to go back to the view my relationship, see what's going on here. We have Benjamin Zalatis married to Sarah Bragg. Let's close that. And this is Alexander and Elizabeth Luther, have quite a few children here. The last child is 1737. We go back up to the record here. We have Henry and Elizabeth McMullen, who have a daughter named Sarah, born in 1687, 26 March 1687. Okay, so now we have another Sarah Bragg, who is not, who was born in 1687 and is not the daughter of Alexander and Elizabeth Luther. It's Henry and Elizabeth McMullen, and that is in Essex, Salem, and this one is in Bristol, Attleboro, Bristol, and this one is the Salem Essex, and born for him. And this Sarah Bragg is probably not the one related to me. And it's so the 1694, 1689. Let's see, okay, so we have her stuck up as a sister to Alexander Bragg. Well, we could very well have had a sister named Sarah Bragg, which does show, for example, 1687. The one that we're looking at is one that's the daughter of Henry and Elizabeth, and she was born in 1687. So we need to have the 1687 one is not the one that's married to Zalatis Ray. This Zalatis Ray Bragg, Sarah Bragg, is the daughter of Alexander and Elizabeth Luther, and so she is, and there's not another Sarah Bragg in here. So she's probably, the question is, do we have a record, birth record for her? So let's go up and look now at the records for Sarah Bragg. We've obviously got another Sarah Bragg out there who is the sister of Alexander Bragg. (1694). And we have another one that was born in 1737. So we have a couple of Bragg children in the in a family. We're going to kind of give up on that one for the moment and focus on the one that we have in the Henry Bragg and Elizabeth McMullen family. And that's the 1687 one. Let's go, and we have another one here who is the YYDT one. Let's pull that one up. And her parents are not known, and she's also married to John Cummings. I mentioned in the beginning of this that this family was entirely messed up, and it is entirely messed up. And we've got a number of extra loops in here. Apparently people married to the same period, got tons of duplicates showing up. And we're going to back off even further on this case. So this is what we're going to do here. We are going to come back to the family tree. And then we're going to go out on the Ray line to the Braggs. And we're going to see that the Sarah Bragg we have in the family tree is 6LY, which is neither of the two that we've been looking at. So we're going to go to her, and she is supposed to be born in Attleboro, and it shows that her parents are Alexander and Luther, and she is the 1737 Sarah Bragg, and there are no other Sarah Braggs in this particular family. So we're looking at a lot of duplicate records out here, and this is generally one of the traps you can get into in FamilySearch Family Tree, is that unknowingly you may have a lot of duplicates. So in this case, for example, this Sarah Bragg shows no duplicates, and yet we have her embedded in other possible families with lots of other duplicates that show up as we continue to do the research. So where we're going to end today is basically looking at this Sarah Bragg and seeing if there are any entries here. There's a Sarah Bragg in a vital record. It's a marriage to Benjamin Ray, Sarah Bragg, in Wrentham, Norfolk, Massachusetts in 1759. Entirely possible. And I think this is the one that we are connected with. And see if there's anything else here. Massachusetts town and vital records. Let's see what's over here on Ancestry. Sarah Bragg marriage to Benjamin Ray. Okay, we have a couple of marriage records. Massachusetts marriage records, marriages. And here we have the conclusion today is that we are once again confirmed that this Sarah Bragg is not necessarily the daughter of Alexander Bragg and Elizabeth Luther. We have no records showing that, and we have no records showing her, Sarah Bragg, born in 1737. So we need to know if there are additional records. We'll do a real quick check here, see if she shows up in a town record or whatever. Got a couple of marriage records, and if we go down looking for her parents, who are Alexander and Elizabeth, put in her parents. By the way, it's FamilySearch does not generally put in the names of the parents, and if they are very important, as they are here, you need to type them in when you do the research. Another search and updating the research does not show her in a record with parents named Alexander and Elizabeth Luther. We have Sarah Bragg, Nathaniel, John, Ariel, that's her spouse, child, spouse, child. One more quick check before we quit, and that is to check her in Ancestry. And in this, we're getting kind of an error message here, but we are getting all sorts of other records for Sarah Bragg. Must be a very common name. So it looks like we've got a long haul here as far as cracking this, but it appears also that if we step off if we go up one more generation and we step off into a rather what I usually refer to as fire swamp of records. Well, thanks for watching this particular episode of researching on the FamilySearch family tree, part of the Exploring Genealogy series on my YouTube channel. And we'll come back to this particular challenge in the future. When I began this particular research project, I had no idea how many difficulties and problems there were with this particular individual. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as we continue to do, as I continue to do some research, and as we continue to look at how this proceeds when we have difficult situations in the family tree. Thanks again for watching.